Hi friends! If you click to check out the newest addition to the Hourglass complexion line, the Vanish Airbrush Concealer, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves all things movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. Timestamps will be down below for whatever portion of the video you wish to see. Where do I begin? I recently had a chat about budgeting for the new year, buying less makeup, and making more informed, reasonable buying decisions. I haven't purchased concealer since my Shiseido haul, which was maybe back late October, early November. I have been religiously using my Giorgio Armani Power Fabric Concealer alongside the Shiseido. Haven't bought any concealer since then. I found something that I really loved and I stuck to it. I don't remember within those 4 months the different concealers that did release. I think we might have seen quite a few drugstore concealers sprout about and maybe a couple of the high-end concealers, but I stuck to my Shiseido, my Giorgio Armani. When I saw Hourglass was releasing the concealer, I had my radar on that because I actually am one of the few people that really like their Vanish liquid foundation. I still believe it is a polarizing foundation in that you either really love it or you cannot stand it. There's no middle ground with that product. When I saw they were releasing their concealer in the Vanish line, I was excited because I love the concept behind the Vanish line in terms of it being skin-like in finish, very natural looking, no texture, no type of unevenness on the skin. And concealer for me is something I feel is so multifunctional and versatile in that you use it to correct, you use it to brighten, you use it to even out your skin tone. If you're not one to rely on foundation for that task, you could use it to contour or even bronze depending on the shade. So because of that, I'm more inclined to buy concealer than I am foundation. And then when I saw they were releasing this product, I was like, oh, well, let's check it out. Let's first address the shade issue because that was the first observation among many upon seeing Trend Mood's post for the first time. They thought that the deeper end of the spectrum was very inconsistent. But when you look at all the arms, and I'll put a picture up in front of me, when you see all the arms, the tones are very inconsistent on the light and medium arm as well. My friend Tanya texted me to say that there's a huge jump from Mocha and Anise, which I agree with her. There is a huge jump, but something tells me, as I discovered when I saw these concealers in the Hourglass store, that these are shades that you have to try on in person. Now, the negative about that is that a lot of people, not even the Hourglass store, are not near a Sephora store or a counter that has Hourglass products there. So it's very hard to decipher how these shades will perform just from a photo online. I think online shades and those variances can be very different from device to device, and it will be quite difficult to figure out your shade. When you see the shades that I have, I would not have picked these based on the photo that was just on Sephora. I picked these because I saw them in person and I tried them in person. So like all my new product reviews, take this as a guide to help your buying decision, not telling you you have to grab these. And I know some of you feel a certain way about Hourglass, especially with their last holiday release. We were quite disappointed with the shade selection, namely the bronzer that was in the 6-pan face palette. Although I think the holiday quad was quite nice, I think those blush shades actually hit a wider part of the spectrum than the 6-pan face palette does. But I understand people's frustration in regards to Hourglass, and it's hard because Hourglass is one of those few brands right now that are not crazy with the releases. They really take their time, especially with complexion products. I think the last launch for them for complexion was their Liquid Vanish foundation, and didn't that come out in the summertime? And now we're well into winter with the concealer, whereas another brand probably within a month or two would have come out with something else. So I will give them that. Although it was a miss for the holiday collection, I do appreciate the fact that they are thoughtful with their releases overall, that they're not overwhelming, and pretty much how it was before with a lot of brands taking time with their collections and just their seasonal makeup releases. I'm sure you want to see the shades that I purchased. Well, I purchased 3 I know, you're like, Alicia, what about that low buy? I'm like, listen, I'm also a review channel, but I'm only going to review what piques my interest, right? I'm not going to buy all the concealers that are going to release in 2020. I have Topaz, Sienna, and Flax. We will take a look at all these shades in swatch, in demo, and compare them with my Power Fabric and Shiseido shades as well. Before we roll into that demo, I do have some product details to share with you. Let me log on to Sephora. It says here on the Sephora app that it is a full coverage, weightless, and waterproof concealer with microspherical powders that blurs and brightens for up to 16 hours of skin perfection. So coverage we're looking at is full, the finish natural, formulation is liquid, skin type recommendations, they have normal, dry, combination, and oily. I'm sorry, there's construction going on, like in the worst type of way. Hopefully my mic will just pick up the audio for my voice, but if you hear that, well, we're gonna keep pushing through, friends. This crease-resistant, light-reflecting liquid concealer blends seamlessly into the skin and diffuses the look of pores and fine lines. The highly pigmented formula evens out skin tone to conceal the appearance of dark circles, blemishes, and other imperfections for a smooth, natural, and airbrush finish. I actually already used this concealer yesterday. I applied it in store and wore it to about, let me see, it was around like 10 a.m. I wore it for about 7 hours before I came home. Took it off to reapply it again with, you know, nothing on my face. And I will say 16 hours is a long time. It did start to fade a little bit under my eyes, but I think I know why. We'll go over those details in a bit. The product specific details we have here, this concealer does retail for $34, so it is on the luxury side as Hourglass is considered a luxury brand. It is made in Korea. As a suggested shelf life of 12 months from opening, Hourglass is cruelty-free and vegan, and total net weight you receive is 0.2 fluid ounces or 6 milliliters of product. In comparison to, let's say, the Giorgio Armani, we're looking at the same amount in the Giorgio Armani. The Giorgio Armani costs the same $34. The Shiseido, however, the Shiseido is $31, and you do get a tiny bit less. We're looking at 5.8 milliliters or 0.19 fluid ounces. So it's funny, deceptively, it looks like it will be, I mean, half that, but it's only like 0.1 of a difference in terms of size, but this is $3 cheaper. And the gel stick from Shiseido, I believe it might be the same price, $31. Oh, this is very small. 2.5 grams. Oh, I think because it's like a solid and not a liquid, and 0.08 ounces. So maybe not as comparable to the liquid formulations, but I'm going to assume if a liquid, it'd be around the same amount. With product details out of the way, why don't we come in a little closer for these swatches and this demo. That's enough. All right, let's take a look at these swatches. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. Right now on my face, I have the COSRX Balancium. It's like a Centella Balm under the Nivea SPF 50, the water gel lotion. Here is one of the concealers up close. You see that the design is very much consistent with a lot of their complexion products. For instance, the Vanish stick design is pretty much this same like bronzy copper mirror finish, and the Vanish liquid foundation has this frosted glass, and this has a little bit of both worlds. It basically looks like the mini version of the Vanish liquid foundation. We have the color Topaz. When I saw Topaz, I was like, there is no way. Oh, I also have, hold on one second. I made sure to write down the descriptions that I found on Sephora. Features and benefits. Oh, wow, we have quite a many bullet points. Weightless creamy formula instantly blends into skin and sets to a natural airbrush finish. Liquid formula conceals dark circles, discoloration, blemishes, age spots, and hyperpigmentation. Contains reflective microspherical powders that diffuse across pores, fine lines, and wrinkles to smooth the skin's appearance. Custom designed applicator has a unique flexibility, allowing it to hug contours for added precision. Oh, we got trucks moving by. Applicator is perfectly flocked to prevent tugging on delicate skin. Long wearing for 16 hours. Crease resistant for 16 hours. Waterproof. Non-comedogenic. Range includes shades that can be used for color correcting. You can use a beauty sponge. You could use a applicator. It says here, normal to oily skin types may want to set concealed areas with veil setting powder. Good to know. To conceal, select a shade that matches the natural skin tone. To highlight, select 2 shades lighter than your natural skin tone, and blah, blah. Okay, here we go. The concealer range includes shades that can be used for color correcting. Use the following shades to neutralize darkness and brighten the skin. Creme is the shade that neutralizes blue darkness in fair skin tones. Silk brightens and neutralizes under eye darkness for light skin tones. Pearl brightens and neutralizes under eye darkness for light to medium skin tones. Sienna, which is the color I have as well, neutralizes blue-gray under eye darkness for medium skin tones. And Topaz, which we have here, brightens and neutralizes gray-brown darkness for medium to dark skin tones. So funny, if you don't know that and you see the swatches on those forearms, you immediately think they made an orange salmon colored concealer. That makes sense because some of the shades look prominently very peachy or very salmon or very orange-like because they are meant to be correctors. Topaz has that hue for sure. Now this shade, look at that, it's salmon, all right. Topaz is described to be medium deep with peach undertones. And you can see the texture that is starting to dry down right away, and it's not something, it's not emollient, it's not emollient like the Shiseido gel stick, but we're gonna compare those shades and I'll leave spaces between these swatches. Next up we have Sienna, which is also considered to be a corrector shade. Sienna is described to be for medium to medium deep skin tones with pink peach undertones. You could definitely see the pink and peach there. I use this for highlighting and it works out. You'll see in a minute. And the last shade we got is Flax. Flax is described to be for medium to medium deep with golden undertones. So I decided to go with the Topaz corrector, the Sienna corrector for my highlight, and the Flax shade for my all over shade, and also my under eye shade. So initially I thought this was way too olive for my under eyes from my face, but it works out, let me tell you. I think we can go and swatch number 6 from the Power Fabric next to Sienna. That makes sense. I believe number 6 from the Power Fabric line is described to have golden undertones, and you can definitely see the difference there next to Sienna. Sienna for sure takes on more of a pinky hue. Here is the Shiseido Liquid in 301, the Shiseido Liquid in 303. 303 is a good match for me, but look at that difference between Flax and 303. I thought Flax worked out quite nicely, but now sitting in front of the window, we shall see if that is a consistent observation. The gel stick, this is in 302. 302 medium. Still, Sienna looks very pinky in tone. 302 in the Shiseido stick is what I use under my eyes to highlight, and the 301 medium shade also if I wanted to. This is in 304. Whoa, that's crazy. That looks so, is this even the right, yeah, 304 medium. That looks so peachy. Next to Flax. I'm going to cut down the exposure a little bit because I feel maybe that we'll able to see the colors better. So this is like the whole range of concealers now in my rotation, and it will be quite interesting to see how they all look. I'm actually going to pull you in a little closer because I want you to see these bags. With the concealer, they released a concealer brush that reminded me immediately of the Fenty brush. Now, next to the Fenty brush, you can see that the Hourglass brush is a little bigger, a little more fluffy. They are both synthetic, and I feel, well, let me give the Fenty one a little wipe. I still think that the Hourglass one has a little more structure to it. It has more bristles in there as well, so it's a lot more dense. And I just could not pass this up. It's such a pretty tool to have. The Hourglass concealer brush retails for $38. Quite expensive, but you know, I took one for the team. So this is my under eye situation. It's not dire, but it could use a little bit of correcting. You know what I mean? Shout out to my boy Jeremy at Boom Boom Brow Bar here at NYC. Finally got my brows waxed and teased. I think he did a phenomenal job because they were looking something, okay? I'm gonna dot topaz just where I need it, okay? So it looks a lot more salmon in person than it does on camera. I prefer to use my finger with this textured concealer, and you'll understand why in a minute. And you'll see I didn't need that much to begin with. I probably only could have used a dot worth and that would have been fine. I'm gonna put a little here around my nostril as well. This concealer's consistency, I feel, pretty much aligns with the description. Yeah, it dries down soft matte, but for drier skin types, I would highly recommend that you apply this on moisturized skin because it will latch on to dry texture if you don't have that prep. Now here we go in with a brush, and the brush is cool. I just feel it doesn't blend as well as my finger does. And this is not the concealer so I should not have applied it first and then go in after because it does set very quickly and not ideal to let hang out because again, it's going to grab on to certain parts of your under eye and it might look textured. So again, let's just lightly go in. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go on the back of my hand. I'm going to go on the back of my hand. I'm going to warm it up and just take what I have on my fingertip right where I need it on the under eye. I think this is the best way to apply this concealer. This is not the type that you want to apply straight on from doe foot to skin. And here's a picture of the doe foot. It's like a oval diamond shape and it has like a groove in there, so it picks up quite a bit of product. So we have our topaz corrector on, and you see despite its shade, it definitely helps to conceal and neutralize any darkness or discoloration under my eyes. I think they could probably use another corrector that's deeper salmon colored for deeper skin tones, but I don't know for sure. Let me know down below if you are of a deeper complected skin tone and you've used topaz and how it works out. Now here is how the texture looks. It's not too bad at all. I think you really have to work this into the skin, but I would rely on fingers or sponge. I don't think this works very well with the brush, not at all. That Hourglass brush probably will work better for my Shiseido concealers, if anything. Let's check out Sienna. I didn't realize Sienna was considered a corrector shade, so let's just put that on. Oh, actually, I forgot, I should have done that. I'm gonna put some on the back of my hand. I already applied it on my face, but it's okay. And then let's just take that with my finger under my eye. I applied way too much, but I just wanted you to see this in action, like full throttle. I have a little bit of eyeshadow on the eyes, don't mind me. You definitely have to work this in, and less is more. Less is definitely more. Just like the Vanish liquid foundation, I feel people were applying way too much, and if you do so, you will get texture on the skin. Given the fact that this is long wear, waterproof, it is inevitable that the consistency has to be a little drier in texture if it's going to be long wearing in nature. But again, I definitely would use fingers because I still want the majority of the product to stay on my face, but with the sponge, it's definitely going to take some away. So that is how Sienna looks, and I mean, compared to this side, totally blocked out. And that corrector, I feel, helped to enhance the finish and covering power of Sienna, because sometimes if I don't correct, you can still kind of see the gray peek through that lighter concealer shade, and it ends up just looking more gray and it doesn't conceal at all. The topaz, I feel, really helps in that respect. Flax. You're gonna see Flax and you're gonna be like, really? This is how it looks. I thought it was gonna be way too olive, but here, let's take a look. I'm gonna work that in first and then go in under my eye. Now I could have picked another shade, but I thought this was a pretty good match. And again, I'm just using the warmth from my skin to skin contact to just ensure that the product is pressed nicely into the skin. So you see there's a little more warmth here on this eye using Flax. I'm gonna zoom you out a little bit. Sienna definitely is gonna give me more of a highlighted look, but Flax I think is just more suitable for my skin tone. So with that said, I'll go in with Flax again a little bit on the back of my hand, just so you see how it covers my blemishes here. I actually applied this this morning as like my all over kind of concealer. It's one of those things where I have to apply it all over my face, otherwise I feel the pigment is a little too strong on its own. I have to be very careful if I do apply this on a blemish, then I kind of have to go over all the portions of my face that have like a redness tint to it or what have you, especially over my lip area because I did get waxed there yesterday as well. So here is Flax just applied on the portions of my face that needed a little more evening out. But the reason I got Flax was because if I was having a no makeup day, I felt that this was a little too bright to be worn on its own without me adding other makeup items on my face, whereas Flax I thought was a little more of an approachable skin tone for me on a no makeup day. I very much still absolutely can layer a little bit of sienna on this side just so you can see that in action over Flax. And again, as I like to do, I put sienna on the back of my hand, warm it up, and then just apply a little bit here under the eye for brightening. I'm like Jackie Aina with all this concealer layering. A little bit here on the cheekbone as well. If you wanted to, you could take the lighter color concealer on the center of the nose, on the center of the forehead. Now this for me is the best method of application. I'm very well aware that people rather use a brush, they rather use a sponge. I like using my fingers with long wearing types of formula because they're a little more textured in nature. So I feel skin to skin is going to help that formula melt better onto your skin and it look more smooth and natural satin-like. I didn't touch these swatches, and you see even, you know, there's a little bit of smudging there, but it stays. It latches on. It latches on for sure, and that's why, again, I would recommend that you don't let your concealer hang out. If you're one of those makeup wearers that they apply the concealer, let it hang out, and then blend in after, you will not like this concealer. I would go in right away. Again, I would suggest that you warm it up on the back of your hand first and use very little product. I don't think this is going to be the concealer for you to apply those long stripes under your eye. I don't think it's suitable for that. I don't think it's meant for that type of application. Less is more when it comes to this Hourglass concealer, just like their Vanish Liquid Foundation is. But you have to work it into your skin. Less is more, but you have to make sure to spread that small amount very well. And I feel, again, fingers, you gotta get in there, you know what I'm saying? And that to make sure you spread that small amount very well across your face. Technically, if you are on the drier side of the spectrum, you don't need to powder. This dries down like a natural finish. It's quite amazing, actually. Let's get you in a little closer. This is how my under eyes look now. I think they look fairly smooth without powdering down, absolutely. But what I did find is that this started to fade just a little bit after a few hours. If you want to see how this looks with the Hourglass translucent veil, I actually really love it under the powder. Let's take now, let's see what we got here. Take my Hourglass Airbrush brush and just carefully pat it along under my eye. It's definitely going to take away some of the natural finish. I actually wore this again, like I said, this morning. Let's just powder the other side. I wore Flax all over my face this morning, but did not set it. And I much prefer this concealer set for me, just to ensure that it doesn't start to separate, because on my forehead, it could start to separate, and that's why I prefer to set the concealer very lightly. It doesn't have to be baked on. I feel just a light dusting of powder with the brush will do quite nicely. And even so here too, because again, if it's waterproof and long lasting, it's not going to take a lot of powder to set successfully. And I think this is more of an ideal finish for me. Now, from afar, my complexion looks fabulous. Tones are correct. I don't feel Flax looks too overly golden olive on me. I don't see the topaz underneath sienna. I will say though, if you were up close, it would be interesting to know how those with drier skin would think about this texture, because even on me, like, I can see the tendency of it looking too dry under the eyes if I apply too much and if I don't work it in with my fingers or with the sponge. Not confident in this texture if I would have used a brush, but I definitely appreciate Topaz's capabilities of canceling out my under eye circles, it not looking crazily salmon, but it works very well under the eyes. Just for kicks, thank goodness that is over, my gosh. Just for kicks, I will remove concealer from one side of my face. So it covers like, whoa, when I'm taking this off with my Bioderma, you can kind of see how much concealer I had on there with the 3 layers. So we have concealer face, and then we have no concealer face. Typically what I've been doing is going in with Shiseido's gel stick in 304 medium. This doesn't necessarily have like a salmon colored like topaz, but it's definitely a little richer in tone. I feel appropriate for covering my circles. This is a little more emollient than the Hourglass, and I feel it's a lot easier to blend out just because of its gel-like consistency. So that's what I would go in with first. Then I'll go in with 302 medium from the Shiseido. And just for kicks, let's use the Hourglass brush with the Shiseido. Definitely a lot easier to blend with the stick. Now, if you want to come in a little closer, you can see the darkness coming through here a little more than this side. So I will say that the topaz does correct better than 304 medium for the Shiseido. Because like, especially when I do this, you can kind of see like that distinguishable line of darkness that starts right under the eyes. This is a lot more blurred and a lot more seamless in terms of the overall shade on the eye. If we wanted to just quickly correct that, let's put the dot of the topaz right there. Let's not wait long and start to blend in. And I feel that helped blur the discoloration a little bit better. Mixing sienna and flax together and just placing that under the eye. Definitely a lot more covering powder than the Shiseido, but the Shiseido for me plays a different role altogether. The gel stick from Shiseido never claimed to be full coverage. That's more medium coverage, more about blurring, less about just vanishing your discoloration altogether. Now, I would use 303 medium for the rest of my face. Probably I would prefer this shade over, oh, well, I don't know. I guess it all depends on the day. I do prefer the Shiseido on my face than I do the Hourglass on my face and on the rest of my face. I feel the Shiseido is a little more elegant in the finish than the Hourglass is, and it just kind of melts into my skin better, whereas the Hourglass, if I use Flax, I feel like I have to use it all over my face, or else you would see the distinguishable portions on my face where I use Flax and where I didn't. The Shiseido 304 medium, I feel kind of just melts wherever, and it looks a little more comprehensive on the dry down than the Hourglass does. But I prefer the Hourglass for under my eyes in terms of covering my discoloration and dark circles under here. All right, final thoughts. What do we think? I think the Hourglass concealer is a beautiful formula. It's not for everyone. I wouldn't suggest this to everyone like I do the Shiseido. I think the Shiseido is just more user-friendly. I think the Power Fabric is more user-friendly as well. It has that coverage without it drying quickly. It doesn't have the same texture as the Hourglass, but is no denying, especially with the topaz shade, how effective and beautifully formulated it is when blurring discoloration or neutralizing that discoloration under your eyes. I rather love it for that purpose. I might exclusively use it for that purpose and still use my Shiseido liquid for the other portions of my face for no makeup days. I still have to experiment with the Hourglass concealer, using it when I have foundation on and I'm just using it to spot conceal on those bits and pieces that I need smoothing on. But I could also try applying it first as a concealer and then apply my foundation on afterwards, and I think that will serve me better than just relying it to cover my face. I think it depends on how you want to use it in your makeup routine, and you have to be a little experimental and see, because not all concealers are going to perform the same, and I feel they have different roles that they shine in. And for the Hourglass, for me, it definitely shines in neutralizing the dark circles and also neutralizing discoloration under your foundation. Overall, I'm thrilled that I bought all three because I just love to have different color options. I think if you are around my skin tone, that topaz will work very well for you as a discoloration neutralizer. Sienna, although not considered like a shade, more like a corrector, might end up being a good highlighter shade for you, again, if you're around my skin tone. Thank you, friends, for watching this video. I hope this video helped. Let me know if you picked up the Hourglass concealer, if you're going to pass on it, your thoughts on it overall. And with that said, friends, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, get ready with me, or favorites list. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.